Team Canada.
Guys, the gaming industry as we know it is absolutely cooked. Now, of course, that's just my opinion. I'm just a guy, just a dad in his office making videos. So, if I get anything wrong in this video, feel free to correct me in the comments below. But this is just my opinion. And yeah, I hope you enjoy it. If you do me a favor, hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. Leave a comment below. I would love to know your thoughts on this topic. So yeah, this is a video I've been meaning to make for quite a while, right? This has been kind of the talk that's been going around the internet, and Xbox then hit us with some price increases. So the main thing, so I heard Victor Lucas. So Victor Lucas runs a channel called EP Daily. He used to have back in the day, electronic playground for Canadians will know it well. He said something that really kind of resonated with me at a time when, I'm trying to sum this up as best I can, but basically his idea was, at a time when we need to do what we can to be more inclusive, to get more people into this hobby that we love, we're making it more restrictive, right? So these price increases are only pricing people out of this hobby. There's a huge portion of people that just aren't going to be able to be involved in this generation until a price drop, because we all know that after a few years, game consoles and games get price drops, right? That's how it works. Wrong. In fact, this day and age, it's the opposite, right? So we get price increases. So yeah, it's absolutely crazy. It's this point in a console's life cycle in terms of the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S, that the price drop happens, right? And, I was listening to a podcast, IGN's Xbox podcast, and they were saying that like the majority of a console's sales come after that price drop, right? Because it invites more people into that console. So people who are on, not people like us, not people who are watching this video, but like the average consumer who's, many of which are a generation behind, right? Like that's their time to jump into the newest console generation when that price drop happens. And it's not happening. It's the opposite. So yeah, I mean, with the prices going up, the Xbox one really kind of shocked me, right? So, it's kind of under this guise of tariffs, right? I think that's what most people are saying, that this is caused due to tariffs, right? So, correct me if I'm wrong, but like Xbox is an American company, right? Microsoft. So, I mean, why are Americans being tariffed for an American product? Now, I understand the components that they source. Maybe Xbox is not the best example there because they source products from other countries. But I don't know, look at Nintendo and Sony, PlayStation, right? Like Canada, where I'm from, we don't have an issue with Japan. So why are we being, why would tariffs affect our prices with Sony or Nintendo, right? So I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe it's a matter of like they have to get the components from other places, but they're not being, I'm sure they're being tariffed to some extent, but has nothing to do with the American Trump tariffs, right? So I don't know. I just feel like I feel like companies are kind of hiding behind that. And, I mean, the real question is, once these tariffs go away, which they will at some point, are the prices going to go back to what they were? Of course not, right? Like, so it's almost like just an excuse for these companies to raise their prices. And it's the same thing with game prices, right? Like, we have a new standard of $80 US game prices. Here in Canada, it's well over $100, plus our crazy amount of taxes. You're paying like 115, garbage man's here, 115, 120 bucks for a new game. That's wild to me. And I'm not paying that. Like, of course, there's going to be outliers. GTA 6, I'd pay substantially more than that for that game. And there's going to be outliers, of course. Like, and to be honest, that game's probably going to be worth it. But on average, there's no way I'm paying $115 Canadian, for a new game, right? Which is just going to lead to like, if I do want to play that game, I either have to wait for it to drop digitally, which can take time unless you're Ubisoft, or buy that game on the used market. Who knows how long that used market's going to be there when we're moving to fully digital. So I don't know. It just feels like you can't win. The other thing that I think about is what I call the Fortnite problem, right? So kids these days, most kids are, predominantly interested in like live service, Fortnite, Call of Duty, Rainbow Six Siege, that sort of stuff, right? Like they're, my boys who grew up on gaming, they had access to everything. They could care less about playing the newest Last of Us or God of War. They're not interested. Um, and like again, there's going to be outliers. My boys are going to play GTA, right? And it's just that like kids these days don't tend to gravitate towards those narrative experience like we used to as when we grew up, right? Like those were super important games to us, games that tugged on our heartstrings and stuff like that. Uncharted or whatever it may be, Tomb Raider games, games with good stories, RPGs. I just feel like less and less people are interested in those these days, and it's just most of the mainstream gaming is focused on Fortnite games. And the thing with that, when it comes to consoles, is you don't need the latest and greatest powerful console to run these games, right? Like I know all sorts of my boys' friends who are playing Fortnite on PS4 or Nintendo Switch, or they're playing, PUBG or Call of Duty mobilely, and like they don't seem to care. Like the thought of like, oh, mom or dad, my Switch is really, the graphic fidelity is not really great, mom. Can you get me a PS5? Like I'm sure that happens, but it doesn't seem to be a thing with the general public, of course. Um, so yeah, I mean that just spells out more doom to me for consoles in general, and I'll get to that a little once I talk about specifically Xbox and PlayStation. But yeah, when it comes to Nintendo, I want to hit on each company now. Yeah, the Switch 2 price, right? Like it came as a bit of a shock. In my opinion, it's too expensive. Now, of course, we saw that it didn't seem to matter when it comes to pre-orders, but um, again, what really matters is that 2 years after the pre-orders, right? Like after the hardcore gamers and diehard people like us who are early adopters and crazy enough to go out there and spend that kind of money on Nintendo's newest console just because we can't resist and we want the newest, latest, and best. That's going to sustain for a year or two, right? And there's going to be a high demand. But what happens after those 2 years, right? Because um, my sister is not going out to buy her kids the latest Nintendo Switch, right? Like she's gonna be like, "You're fine with your Nintendo Switch," and that's not going to happen anytime soon. And again, with the game prices for Nintendo, like I'm not paying $120 to play Donkey Kong. I'm just not. I would just wait, or I just won't end up playing that game. Um, when it comes to Xbox is a interesting case, right? Like they're losing the battle this generation to PlayStation. I think they're being outsold 3-1 or something like that, and they're already there's already cross-platform Xbox games coming to PlayStation, right? So it's like less and less of a reason to choose the Xbox platform, and increasing the price of your consoles by $100 US. What incentive is there anymore for people to choose Xbox over PlayStation? And that's coming from a diehard Xbox guy. Like I love Xbox. I play since the 360. It's been my predominant console. Like I've been in the Xbox ecosystem. I love Game Pass, love the controller. Xbox is my primary console. But for the average consumer, I'm just thinking like, why would anybody choose that over a PlayStation these days if they know that they can get those experiences on the PlayStation? And plus, PlayStation, when it comes to first-party games, that they just, outclass Xbox handily. And that's tough for me to admit because, like I said, I'm kind of a bit of an Xbox fanboy. So yeah, when it comes to Xbox, I just think this moves us closer to the inevitability of Xbox becoming a publisher and just getting out of the console market, right? I mean, they're kind of doing that with transitioning with the Play Anywhere. And at some point, I just, why can't they have Play Anywhere on the PlayStation, bring the games to the PlayStation? At this point, I think the writing is on the wall for Xbox, and I hate to say it. But, that's going to affect my purchases going forward, right? Like typically, if I buy a digital game, it's on Xbox. So I think from here on out, I've got to switch over to PlayStation because I just don't see how much longer Xbox is going to be around at this rate. Like I don't see anybody out there spending $600 for an Xbox Series X. Yeah, I hate to say it. And when it comes to PlayStation, of course, they're in the driver's seat, the market leader. I just feel like eventually the PlayStation will be the only physical console on the market. Of course, there will be the Nintendo Switch, but in terms of having a monopoly for being like the most like next gen, like here's where you're going to get all the latest games. You'll get a diminished version of that on the Switch, and that'll be fine on the Switch too. But I really feel like it's going to be, it's going to be PlayStation is going to be your one console. And what does this mean for the future of games, and what is the answer in terms of solving this? I kind of blame Apple for all of this, right? Like Apple has normalized that like upgrade cycle of like they've normalized spending $1,200, $1,600 on a new phone every few years. I think what's going to happen with these game consoles is it's going to become normal that the game consoles, $1,000, and that's just inevitable. Every 4 years, you're going to have to upgrade. And, I really think what should happen is we should just slow down on, console iterations like, okay, I guess my point here is we saw a generational leap, obviously, from the PlayStation 1 to PS2, right? It was like, wow, what a difference. And fair enough, even from the 2 to 3, right? But it's getting less and less. 3 to 4, less. 4 to 5, still, it's obviously clear between a PS5 and PS4 game. But from here on out, like, we're talking better frames, higher fidelity. We're seeing those diminished returns, right? Like, we're seeing less and less of an improvement. Why not let's just keep this kind of stagnant? Like, let's keep this tech, bring those console costs down, and get more people into this market. And when it comes to the games, right, like spending that much money on every games aren't all created equal, right? And of course, gaming companies are going to want to get the most, publishers are going to want to get the most money that they can, but paying $80 for GTA 6 and also paying $80, I think it might be $10 less for Donkey Kong on the Switch, like it's kind of apples and oranges, right? So I just really think that publishers need to find that sweet spot of like, what does it cost? What is the amount of manpower involved? The development cycle to create these games? Can we bring that down? Shorter experiences. I have no problem playing an 8 to 12 hour game. I don't always have time to play these 60 to 100 hour games, right? And I'd much rather have a well-made, concise 8 to 12 hour game than a, big mess of a 100-hour game. So I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is the industry, I feel like, is going to be hurt by these price increases. And I think the only way to combat that is to slow down on console iterations and, kind of focus more on the experiences. Of course, they want to drive console sales, so they've got to add new things and sell new consoles. But, maybe the answer has always been right in our faces, right? Just stay one generation behind. I always envied people who, there's people who are playing PS4 right now and scooping up all the games, all the consoles' best games for that generation for like $5-10. You're getting the console for $100. And like, if you can stay a console generation behind, that's the way to do it. Unfortunately, anyone watching this, including myself, I'm a hypocrite. I always want to have the latest tech, the latest graphics, and so I guess what I'm saying is we're a special case, and maybe the industry is moving to a point where they're focusing on people like us, and they're willing to, hope that whales like us will give them that money to make up selling more consoles, if that makes sense. So, a higher price, less people, but, bigger margins, more money there, rather than selling at a lower cost point to more people, which makes more sense to me. But then I guess what happens with the used market, right? So I think I touched on that, but like, now that I'm not paying $120 for Donkey Kong, my options are, like I said, to wait for it to drop digitally, which never happens with Nintendo, or keep my eye on Facebook Marketplace or whatever, eBay, wherever you buy your used games, GameStop, right? For used copies of these games. But we both know what's happening with GameStop, and there's going to be less and less places to buy these games physically used. There's going to be less and less physical games to buy used. And as we go digital, these companies are going to have us by the balls, right? Like if they control what the prices are, you know, after a game's been out for a while, if you're not getting a substantial price drop, I mean, they can control that, right? They determine that. If there's no physical used game market, then they've got a hold on that too. So you know, what is the answer? I think what's most likely going to happen is it's going to be that. It's going to become normal that your new game console is going to cost you about $1,000, and experiences, you know, it's the games. It's the games that really hurt, right? Like I can wrap my head around that. Like I can normalize that again because of Apple. I can get used to every 4 years I have to spend $1,000 to get the newest console. I can get around that. What I can't get around is paying $120 to play one game. That I really struggle with. And, you know, going forward, I'm somebody who's in a special case. Like I do get codes for games, right? And, you know, I'm appreciative of that. But like I could imagine, you know, I've been buying games for years, you know, collecting, whatever it may be. And I just can't imagine, you know, the general public, let alone myself, being willing to drop that kind of money on one game. So anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Let me know if, I'd love to know what your lead platform is this generation, whether it's Xbox, PlayStation, or Nintendo Switch. And yeah, let me know if you've got any better ideas or answers to any of these questions. Yeah, once again, thank you so much for watching, guys. Do me a huge favor and hit that like button. Your likes and comments have really been kind of, number one, fueling me to make new content. Thank you so much for that. And yeah, getting this channel back on people's feeds, because you know, disappearing for as long as I did, it's a lot of people aren't seeing these videos. So, you know, I've never really been one to be like, smash that like button, but it really goes a long way. And I appreciate you guys helping out in that way. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Until the next episode.